So let's go to Friday's episode. And once again, I want to remind you, if you are watching, do not forget to like this video. Give it a thumbs up before you are done viewing it tonight. This Friday, we will be covering the disappearance of Douglas Jones from Simpsonville, South Carolina. He disappeared on July 30th, 1997. And the interview will be with his brother, his older brother, Hal Jones. Now, you should already know this is a disappearance. This disappearance is not on the Charlie Project. It is only on NamUs. Why is it not on Megan's site? I don't know. But this is an episode. The title of it is called On the Job. And the reason it's called that is because Doug Jones was a plumber, and he went out to do his work that day, July 30th, 1997. And just before 5 p.m. That day, he had stopped somewhere to buy some parts for a job that he was going to be doing that evening at a church. He was going to be installing a water fountain, or maybe it needed some new plumbing or something like that. He was going to be working on a water fountain at this church that evening. Well, he never showed up for the job. So there he is at 5 o'clock. He was supposed to go to this church, maybe not right after that, but maybe later in the evening, 7 o'clock, something like that. Never showed up. And never came home either. And then Hal was not quite sure whether it was the next day, July 31st, or August 1st, my birthday, that a woman was driving down a road near where Doug lives and saw his vehicle, saw his truck. And I wouldn't necessarily say that it was hidden. I'm going to be doing a video for this. I wouldn't say that it was hidden, but it was off this road, and it was down by, it wasn't in the creek, but it was down by this creek, and like this bridge abutment was kind of shielding it from view. And it ended up being Doug's truck, and it was found about 1.6 miles from where he lives. And he lived with his wife and their 2 kids. And Doug was missing. His wallet's missing. His beeper, remember the good old beeper days in the 1990s, and also $1,500 that from a check that he had cashed earlier on July 30th. That cash was also missing. No signs of violence in the truck. There was nothing wrong with the truck. No blood in the truck. The car keys, the truck keys weren't there. They're also missing. But there are a couple things about this disappearance that I'm sure are going to catch your ear when you hear them. First of all, Doug had taken off before. He had left his wife, and I think he only had 1 child at the time. He left his wife and child in 1994. He took off. He went to Charlotte, North Carolina, and stayed there for 3 days, not telling anybody what he was doing, and then seemingly had a change of heart and came back to his family. Now, he was a plumber. He took his truck. He took his tools. He took everything, not his clothes, but he kind of just jumped in the truck and left. But after 3 days, he thought, hey, I can't be doing this. And he went back to his family. So when he went missing the second time, there was the thought, well, maybe he was doing it again. So that's part of it. I think that's what makes this disappearance maybe at least a little hard to figure out, because we have a person who did leave his family before. Well, the second part is that he disappeared the day before he and his wife and their older child, the younger one was only 4 months old. I guess that child was going to be staying with grandparents, but Doug, his wife, and their 3-year-old child were going to be going to Disney World. They were going to be driving down to Orlando, Florida. So he disappeared the day before they were supposed to go on this trip. Well, even though Doug was missing on July 31st, 1997, his wife, their child, went to Disney World anyway. And even though Doug was missing. And what the wife did was she invited a friend of hers and the friend ended up taking her child. So 2 mothers, 2 children ended up going to Disney, even though the husband, Doug, went missing the day before. So I'm sure all of you are going to be thinking long and hard about that as well. And we get into more of the details. You get to learn a little bit more about Doug's wife, Joellen. You should know that I got to speak to the older child who was only 3 years old at the time. However, that conversation, for the most part, is going to stay off the record. And tonight I also got to speak to another member of Doug's family about what went on at the time. So I got some good coverage for this episode. So I think I got a good handle on the people involved and everything that was going on. And, but once again, the main interview that you're going to hear is with Doug's brother, Hal, his older brother. And I think Hal did a great job. Now, you should know that the Jones family has one particular scenario in mind regarding Doug's disappearance. But as you also know, we don't do theories during interviews or episodes. I just hope when you're done listening to it that you take everything in total, all the information that you hear when you decide what you think happened. I have my own idea that I will write about in the blog on Patreon, as I do every weekend. Once again, patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. But I, of course, want all of you to come to your own independent conclusions. Once again, Douglas Jones disappeared from Simpsonville, South Carolina, July 30th, 1997. The interview is with his brother Hal, his older brother Hal, and it's an episode called On the Job. So I think that's about it, ladies and gentlemen, for the September 23rd, 2020 episode of Unfound Live. Told you about Sarasota Disc Golf and how I'll be disc golfing over here in Largo, Florida on Saturday. Just one round. Should only be out there for a couple hours. Dad is allegedly going to be coming down in November. We got the Harris poll. We talked about that. Eric Franks, Linda Stoltfus, the Hillsborough County podcast, Sheriff's podcast, Unfinished Business, how they covered Bonnie and Jeremy Dagis's disappearance. The search for Jacob Weeks that happened this past weekend in Indian Hills, Colorado. Janice Pocket, Deborah Spickler, Lisa Joy White, and Suzanne LaRosa. And how this new podcast or show, Paper Ghosts, is going to be coming out talking about all their disappearances. Unfound on the Ground this Monday night. The newsletter tomorrow night. Do not forget, 7 p.m. Eastern, me and Dr. Grace Telesco on YouTube. Suzanne Morphew talked about the 2 people who've been charged with the murder of a guy who was found on a golf course, and took a bunch of questions from all of you. That's all I got. I will be seeing you, some of you, on Sunday night for the Think Tank. Of course, the rest of you, everybody will be hearing me on Friday, or whenever you download the episode. Some of you do Sunday or whenever. You'll hear me on Friday for the disappearance of Douglas Jones. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the comments. I enjoy doing this live show every week. Would not miss it. Good night.